Is the spot good here? Yes. Welcome to this video essay YouTube presentation documentary about backrooms. The backrooms. Let us investigate the backrooms in investigation by Blan. The seasoned nature documentary speaker Blan. Yes. Let us start. So, we are here in these, let us see, let us go here. We are here in these, yellow retro pattern adorned interiors. Yes, and what is the fascination and the deep feelings that people have connected to these rooms? Yes, let us investigate. Empty room like this. Interesting. Was there something before? Was it maybe a department store or maybe an office space? We do not know, but maybe the stale carpet flooring and damp and old-fashioned tapestries that have seen better days tell us the story about how probably there has been more human activity than there is now. Yes. Yeah. What are the things that are adding to the atmosphere? What can we hear? Mostly nothingness, but how can we explain the nothingness? If you listen closely, you can hear the sound of maybe old lights and a ticking of a clock. But mostly this is old lights, right? And let us see. Oh, let us see. So let us investigate more. Why are the backrooms called the backrooms? Aren't they just normal rooms? The aesthetic and image of backrooms started from a real image, I think. And then in some internet spaces, this picture was posted and there was put some fluff text to it, basically writing that it is like another dimension clipping through the world and you are there. But maybe the fascination with the space is not as much supernatural dimensional clipping, but more the mystification and eeriness that turns normal spaces into kind of otherworldly locations. And maybe a terrifying thing of it is that maybe many spaces that we visited or remember from our life can turn into this liminal spaces devoid of humans and eerie. Yes. That brings us to our next chapter. Liminal spaces. Let us explore a bit on foot for it. Yes, walking while talking talking about it. So, liminal spaces are spaces that have this feeling of maybe eeriness, maybe it is a combination of spaces where people traverse and now they are empty, right? So, for example, a train station at night without people, a stairway without people, maybe a hotel floor space, also abandoned schools or schools and IKEAs, shopping districts at times where there are no people. Maybe then the effect is the strongest. So these are the spaces. Maybe also big things are vaporwave abandoned malls and pool rooms. Yes. Yeah, what is liminality? Let us investigate in this yellow moldy walls of the backrooms. Yes. Let's see. Maybe the feeling of liminality, liminal spaces, loneliness, combined with nostalgia maybe, and also maybe a part of liminality is maybe that there was human interaction before, and this connection to human interaction and the absence of it right now. Maybe this adds to the feeling of eeriness, loneliness, and maybe there's something off. Yes. One thought experiment with it I would have is imagine you are moving. You found a new apartment and you're still in the old apartment, but already packed all your stuff, right? So the thought or the image you had in your head about your old apartment, you see now that it is like a state of impermanence. Yes, it kind of already vanished and is only in your memory, right? And I think maybe this point in time gives it a certain terrifying meaningfulness. Yes, and seeing this space in another light maybe triggers some emotion, or at least makes you think different of a space. Yes. My next question: if we say that this abandoned apartment with everything packed up, no furniture, like this kind of, and the space looks like it is not supposed to be, would it have the same effect of liminalness if you would be moving in and have your things still in bags and carton boxes? Maybe it would also be liminal. Maybe it would be less liminal feeling because it is looking into the future. Please write me what you think about it. But yes, maybe what we can say about this is all the emptiness and nostalgia adds to the liminalness, and that we can imagine that there has been something before. The same with the light sources. Basically, I think lights and maybe also the sound of it, the buzzing, kind of connects us to memories that we had with it. maybe spaces that we felt this kind of ambience before. And of course, maybe this puts us into the next category of our documentation, investigation about these liminal spaces. Backrooms, yellow, pattern adorned walls. Okay, the phenomenon of nostalgia. I think for this part I have actually a story that is maybe a bit sad. I remember I got this Pokemon game when I was a child and I was really excited about it. And I got it from this store, which was basically like paradise, yes, for tiny Blan. And it got closed, right? And it is a bit sad, but also kind of the nostalgia of it lives on, right? Which is also kind of beautiful. Of course, with nostalgia, maybe that doesn't have to be totally lived experiences, but they can also just be adopted from media, the zeitgeist, culture, or kind of longing for different times. As we see in the 18th century with longing for the classical period or romanticization of knights and medieval justing, while there were no knights at all in the 19th century, yes. So we wouldn't have to actually have lived there to feel this connection to nostalgia, yes. Another thing with nostalgia is probably all senses can have nostalgia. So the visualness of it, but also the sounds, like right now the buzzing of the lights, also smell, like for example opening playing cards and the smell of some figurines, yes, the smell of plastic cases of some games, yes. This is part about nostalgia, and I would probably think that part of the fascination with the backrooms is also the nostalgia, yes. Maybe we can feel the flaws with this carpet. The next question is, the backrooms have been used for horror elements, kind of like hide and seek, which probably a big part of horror elements is basically a sense of emptiness, space, locations. Maybe it works better at night or at dusk or dawn. Maybe we could say that night on its own is kind of a liminal space of the world, a liminal state where the world kind of stops, right? There is less movement from animals and from people. It is kind of a forced liminalness. And the night and darkness are kind of primordial fears or feelings. So that lets us go to our next thing, which is the dark. So let us see, as I said earlier, the dark is kind of a primordial fear, but it is also kind of a state and with night that transforms every location into another mood and a kind of magical, otherworldly place. Yes? And maybe this transformation also makes us feel a bit liminal. Liminal spacey. Another thing with the dark is that it is extensively used in horror movies and scary media. Yes. Another question is what people think of the dark and imagine in it, but a part of it probably is the alertness and not knowing what is in there. Yes. So maybe one part of the horror of the darkness is the unknown. Oh, that sounds like a good additional chapter. Let's put it somewhere. Let's see. The unknown. Maybe part of the fascination with backrooms, those dimly lit corridors, could also be not knowing what happened to a place like this. Of course, with every media, there will always be stuff added, fan theories or normal writing with it. But maybe for myself, the parts that are the most fascinating about it are the parts that are not explained and not over-explained. Let us see what I mean. For example, let's get into a bit more lighter room. Yes, look here. So, what my thoughts are. Law-wise, people creatively added stuff to it, like, for example, like a glitch clipping through rooms to get here, and also later to access it with a kind of like sciencey 80s horror ghost hunting movie Stargate portal, which of course is valid and an fun explanation. I would like to experience the feeling of kind of just meeting places like these, the back rooms, randomly by just existing, by just going through day by day, maybe having to do some groceries and my normal store is closed, and then I go to a mall that is kind of old and run down. Maybe there are only a few shops left, and maybe I would find a space like this in some kind of back entrance or side entrance, and I would maybe take a look at it and think which company was there before and why they had to leave, kind of. Part of the unknown, I think, is maybe a big part of horror, to not explain everything. If there is an evil monster, do we know the backstory? But the other thing is, do we want to know the backstory? And maybe some movies are really scary by not showing the monster at all, or not showing it for a long time. Yes. Maybe also having much of empty space lets people fill in the gaps and kind of portray their own fears and their own thoughts on it, like a blank piece of paper. Yeah. Oh, can you see it? Nostalgic sound. nostalgic objects, hints of human activity before we came here. Yes, let us bask in the sounds. Yes, bask in the sounds. Okay. Of course, the space does not have to be horror. Let us get to the next point, which is the distinction between horror and liminality. I think maybe one doesn't have to be the other at all, of course. And I think it is kind of the feelings can be overlapped, but maybe liminalness alone doesn't have to be scary, but also can be cozy in a kind of retro sad melancholic way, but in a good way. I like the feeling that there are no monsters there, and there is not more there than is shown, and that the mundaneness of everything is kind of a strong feeling. So maybe if something is mundane, we place more thoughts into it. The same with if a space is empty. So mundaneness. I would like to think that we're alone here, and also that our visit will not change anything, right? It is just a place kind of lost in time, or lost slowly decaying, but also not. So the Backrooms, yeah, my focus on it is now not the lore dumping, but maybe the fascination with it without lore. Like, probably everyone can make a connection to it without any lore, and I think that is really fascinating, right? Yes, maybe that's what I like. Here we have an example of a horror element with some kind of sprite or person, but yeah, we can go like closer, and it's totally, wait a second, activating my torchlight. Totally a scary thing, right? And oh no, it is I'm not sure, human red thing, but what I find maybe more interesting is this space here, right? This space also, it reminds me kind of like school halls after a really long school day, and most of the lights are already out. Maybe for me there was something like how was it called, martial art thing going on in the gymnasium of the school, right? And it was always held at the end of days where it's maybe already dark, and it makes me think of this kind of place, kind of nostalgic, and then finding your way back home while all the classes are empty. And I would say that is also a liminal space experience, kind of. So I really like, even if it was made for a scary experience, or there's a body bag or something, I think extracting the liminal part of it and seeing how I connect with it is really interesting, right? And I would love to find more of these liminal spaces everywhere I go. Yes, but not in a horrific way or terrifying way, but a kind of strong emotional way. Feeling thoughts that place evokes. Yes. So yeah. So this is the harmless but still terrifying in a way big emotional part of decay and impermanence, but also absence of people in spaces that people use much. Let us next get to the other part of Backrooms, which is edit horror stuffs. Because everyone loves horror, maybe not too much, but let us keep this part quite short. Yes. So, for this, maybe I'm already scary. For this, I will change to another Backrooms world with maybe creatures, but also I will try to fill the role of being the scary monster that roams the endless corridors and maze that is the Backrooms. Yes. So let me quickly change the world 1 second.